I'm Frank. How y'all doing?
Way that I am prejudiced.
I'm Frank. How y'all doing? Who here's from USC?
Sensors?
Who here's not from USC? I wanted to have people from UCLA to make you feel superior. This is important to me. Who's had me as a student? Okay, so most of you don't know me. I am interested in the civility and respect, and they're going to be filming this, and there's going to be a special guest who's going to come out and say hello to you, and he's going to participate in this conversation with me. We're going to debate tonight, and you're going to tell me what topics. I have 22 different questions, and you guys are going to choose 4 of them. I'm going to do 15-minute debates on each. So I want to introduce you to a special guest who cares what you are thinking, what you are feeling. These are why the cameras are here. So come on out, special guest.
Hey, guys. How you doing? Hello. How are you? How you doing? What's that, man?
So what do I have to do to get that kind of reaction?
You have to get taller.
I'm getting taller in the wrong direction.
Go bald, I guess. I don't know.
He's here because he's a linguist. He's here because he understands human behavior. And he wanted to hear you all speak and communicate. There's one thing that I need you to learn from this whole conversation. It's not what you say that matters, it's what people hear. When you're debating, when you're arguing, look them straight in the eye. I make eye contact and I don't look away, and it's hard. And by the way, one of my problems, and I need help, I really do, is that I look for the person who's most annoyed with me, and that's the person I stare at. So the whole room could be going like this and really into it, and I'm focused on the one individual that's giving me a hard time. Why is that?
I work a lot with juries, and we always went after that person. The 9 we've got, we don't focus on. We focus on the person we don't have, because the real closing argument takes place in the jury room, not in the courtroom. And so we go after that person, and if we can get them, then we know we're making progress. I don't want to preach to the choir. I want to preach to the people that don't agree with me and see if I can persuade them. So I assume that's why you focus on the person that you don't have, giving you minimal encouragers with everything you're saying.
So think about this. How often do you see a conservative who comes to your campus that you really don't want there? How often are you trying to move them over to your side versus to dismiss them or embarrass them, to debate them, not to change hearts or minds, but to embarrass? That doesn't win anybody over. College Democrats and college Republicans should be doing so much stuff together because you got one thing in common. You care about your country. You care about your country, don't you? You care about your country, don't you? Don't you realize you've got that in common? That you actually care about what happens to the future of America?
Can I ask a question before you move on?
Yes.
I do a lot of work with law enforcement, particularly with negotiators, hostage negotiators, that sort of thing. What do you think the number one objective is with an FBI negotiator if they're working with someone that's taken hostages? What do you suppose their number one objective is in establishing their relationship with the hostage taker? What do you think?
Preserve life.
Yeah, of course, they want people out. What do you think?
Understand their reasoning.
I'd say try to humanize them in a way that also connects them with their family and their friends.
In a sense, some of that is right, but they will tell you this. They have never had a hostage taker surrender or release a hostage until that hostage taker believes the negotiator understands why they took those hostages to begin with. You don't have to agree with it. They have to know you understand why they did what they did. And that hostage taker is never releasing those hostages till he knows that that negotiator gets why he did that. And that's not happening on college campuses. they're not understanding why that person that they're objecting to being there feels the way they feel. I didn't say you have to agree with them, just that you understand why they're taking the position. You may think it's total crap, but you understand why they feel that way.
I'm going to ask Democrats, give me a word or phrase to describe Republicans. Start with the engineer. Word or phrase to describe Republicans.
Fiery.
Nationalist.
Emotional.
Responsible.
Conservative.
Prejudiced.
Word or phrase to describe Democrats.
Sensitive. Emotional.
Naive.
Young.
Activists.
Censors.
When she says prejudice, anyone on this side, what's your reaction to that?
It's an assumption.
Do you think that it's an assumption that's deserved?
In the same way that I am prejudiced, she is equally as prejudiced.
That's a really strong thing to say. What was the word you used?
Censors. Censors.
How do you respond to what he said? Anybody here?
I think what happened in Florida just now is a good example where Disney spoke out against the Don't Say Gay bill, and the Florida legislature moved to take away Disney's special tax status. So that doesn't seem like Democrats censoring to me.
That's one of my biggest issues is like for example, Don't Say Gay isn't even really in the legislation. So it's just the hijacking of these narratives that aren't really entirely accurate that kind of stokes division in itself.
It's a really strong accusation.
How can it stow division when Don't Say Gay specifically is censoring certain information in elementary classrooms?
No, it's the bill is about limiting sexual education and sexual orientation education in the classroom. It's saying that it's the perspective that shouldn't be done in the classroom setting. If you can't teach religion in a public classroom setting, why should you be discussing sexual orientation?
You teach, elementary, small children about a virgin birth in the Bible, and that has to do with sexuality.
If a public high school teacher or a professor at USC mentioned Christianity or invoked the virgin birth, I think the Democratic side would be upset with that and try to censor that and cancel them. I mean, they would probably not only be fired, but possibly sued.
But I'm not saying in a classroom setting. I'm saying at home. You're saying that, children are too underdeveloped to be able to understand these kinds of topics, and yet at home and at church, you're talking about these things.
If the state can't pick a side with religion, why is it, teaching kids something like this so young?
Going into the private life, and even back to your point, a lot of what is not even taught in the private life or in the home is about sexual orientation or understanding. You can't dismiss a child for knowing this at such a young age, or even letting them have that voice to have that come out at some point. And a lot of the time, sexual orientation, all that comes with sexual education, yes, partially is taught in the school, but a lot of it is already censored because of legislation.
I have a question for you guys. We don't start our times tables till we're in first grade. We don't start pre-algebra till we're in fifth grade. So why, if we already regulate bipartisan education topics, can we not regulate the ages that you are taught something as important as sexual orientation? We already regulate other subjects.
Because you can't regulate what's not there. The fact of the matter is that the American school system is so lacking in our sexual education programs in the first place that any removal of some sort of education is going to really impact students. I was able to learn about, healthy sexual relationships or healthy relationships dynamics. If I had learned that in school, I think it would have been a lot healthier for me than learning about it on the internet where that's unregulated and that's going to be unsafe. Even learning the vocabulary words for certain body parts can help children feel more empowered and confident in confronting sexual abusers or knowing, is this a safe touch? Is this not a safe touch? These are the kinds of things that I personally don't trust my fellow Americans to teach their children at the certain ages.
What's the environment for Republicans on college campuses? I'm asking you.
I would say it's not as welcoming. Most of the time, I refrain from having political conversations generally because the topics tend to get overblown or overheated.
What does it feel like to be a Republican on campus?
Frightening.
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 Why?
I related a lot to, I'm a member of the Christian club on campus, one of the Christian clubs. And so just because of it's very polarized, there are many people who, if you announce to others that you are a Christian, that you believe in Christ and you have a faith centered around such an individual, that you are in a way looked down upon because, again, something that liberals or Democrats generally will argue about is that you are against people who identify as homosexual or non-heterosexual. Overall, you carry this cloak that really makes you stand out among others, and it feels like you're targeted.
But what's your reaction to that?
I just want to disagree with this sentiment that politically diverse ideas are not welcomed on college campuses. I think we as Americans are as divided as we are at college campuses. It's translating from our national politicians and the media. We are just a byproduct of what our politicians and our media are telling us every day. And when we do interact, we are reflecting our larger society, which is more polarized than ever before. So just because we are young, in my opinion, and this sentiment that college campuses are the only areas of the American populate that are divided is just not accurate, in my opinion.
Going back to you saying that you were terrified to be a Republican on campus, I have firsthand experienced some of the biggest atrocities is basically the word I would use to describe, coming from the USC GOP, calling women who've had abortions murderous whores. Oh, it goes on. Commenting on women's appearances, comparing their personalities to, she looks this way, so this is of course her personality. But when it's going on in a group chat messaging with the entire club, and the president is seeing this and commenting things when no one is calling anybody out, when comments are being liked, it's the entire club. So for you to say that you're terrified to be on campus as a Republican, I'm terrified to be on campus with individuals who think this way.
We have a group chat that is, for a lot of people in our group, I would feel the most comfortable talking about anything is in this chat, because we can't just blatantly go walking around campus talking about the things we said. It is polarizing if I was to put my opinion out there. I'm not condoning what he said about you. It's absolutely inappropriate. But to go ahead and use that as a generalization and say that, guess what? He can say that, and we also can give him backlash on it. We have. But what else do you expect us to do other than you generalizing us into that group?
I think the issue here more is the animosity from both sides. I've experienced it myself from your members last year, one of them, and this isn't in a group chat, he made fun of me, called me Kamala because I am outspoken. And, you're right here. That happened. And at the end of the day, it's not, where's the screenshot? Who cares about that? That's not what we're here for. We're here to build bridges and understand each other. And that's really hard to do when there are names being called and there's just, looks and certain things where we can't build bridges that way.